Let's move from media issues to marketing now, and in a consumer climate that is both pressured and fickle, when it comes to customer loyalty and retention, a brand has to be adaptable and nimble. Now, that's the driving ethos behind the new way in which the Coca-Cola brand is thinking. It's described by the company as being liquid and linked. And that informed the start of an in-depth discussion with Ivan Pollard, Vice President Global Connections at the Coca-Cola Company, at the recent Cannes Advertising Festival.
It's a strategy for how we're going to manage the way that we develop and deliver and distribute content and then cultivate conversations around that content. So we're realizing that we need an evolved approach to an evolved ecosystem of communications and connections possibilities. So we're trying to define our content to make sure that the stories that we begin to create can spread and scale and grow through the social graph, through people talking, through different people reflecting their take on our stories. So that's the liquidity of it, but we need to make sure that it's always linked back to our business, to consumer passions and consumer needs, and also the little bits of it are linked together.
So leading on from that, what does this do then to the traditional Coke model of advertising?
Oh, no, not at all. I think we'd see this as being built on top of it. So, you know, the Isaac Newton quote about if I've seen further than others, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants. That's what this is. This is about how we stand on the shoulders of what has got us to the last 125 years of growth, but then look forward to what's possible now with the world as it is. So still at the heart of it, telling great stories, creating great content is really important to us. But trying to expand that in a way that we always have been about wonderful experiences. Whether 100 years ago it's about two people sharing a Coke at a soda fountain and having a great conversation and having fun and enjoying themselves, or whether now it's take that same experience and share it across hundreds of millions of people around, you know, the FIFA World Cup in South Africa or around the Olympics in London. How do we scale that coming together around an optimistic, uplifting, happy event using new technologies placed on top of the old communications models?
So using this viral approach and also creating the narrative, I would suggest to you that this has attached to it inherent risk.
Absolutely.
But you have no
we're
choice.
Very aware. I think that's a very good point. You know, we actually don't have a choice, and this is about understanding that consumers will do what they will do, and we need to be part of it and allow that to happen. Use exactly the phrase, Jeremy, that we use: seed control, at least a portion of it. So we can catalyse, we can start, we can facilitate, we can fuel conversation, but we can't control it. So even in the world of PR, the notion of controlling the story is gone, it's dead. So you look at last month, type Coca-Cola into YouTube, 146 million views for things to do with Coca-Cola, 20 million around what we created, 126 million around what consumers recreated and spread and passed on. So our job is to work with that momentum and to go with that flow and just be a part of it and fuel it and point it in roughly the right direction, but respond to the direction that consumers take it as well.
All right, let's turn our attention away from strategy to creativity now. This is what one of your colleagues said a little earlier this week. We can't separate technology from the creative idea itself. What did he mean by that?
So increasingly, you know, it is true that where in the old days we used to think about where do we place the message, you know, where's the right time and the right place for the content to be delivered. Content tended to be pretty fixed. It was one piece of film or one piece of, you know, beautiful artwork that could go on a magazine or a billboard. Now it can be multifarious. It can flex and adapt. The production costs have come down, you know, for us to be able to do that. Different films, different formats, different places to go fit the location. So the idea that the technology, the place where that gets really, really close, you know, the content and the context and the mode of connection on a mobile phone is pretty much interlinked. The moment, the time, the space and the device, if they're not in sync with the connection, I can't put a banner on a mobile phone website and expect it to work in quite the same way as, for instance, writing a beautiful text So it goes to the footballer who's playing in our Coca-Cola tournament around Africa, that says, hey Jacob, I hear you had a good second half of the game and scored a goal. Well done, yours sincerely, insert world's famous African football. You know, Didier Drogba sends him a text that we've done some strange deal that allows that to happen. That content, that moment, that context, that personalisation, those things are inseparable, and that's where we're going. And you can spin that out. Facebook does the same thing, Google does the same thing, you know, the way we leverage, even a vending machine needs to do the same thing.
Is it your opinion that agencies are rising to this challenge, and are they doing it well?
Are they doing it well? I think, especially with a man of my stature, using the word miniaturised is always quite tricky. But I actually think it's the other way around. I think they're all excited and struggling to go for that maximised pot of creativity. You know, that I started life in a famous London agency called Bose Massimi Pollitt. We made beautiful advertising for Foster's Lager and Volkswagen cars. That same agency today doesn't have to base everything on a film. And that film doesn't have to be 30 seconds. They can make the 7-minute, 14-second film because there are distribution methods and production methods that allow it. They can think about the social graph. They can think about technology. They can come to a company like Coca-Cola with an idea to transform every vending machine. We've got 3 million vending machines in the world. We've got an idea to transform every single one of them into a Tamagotchi. We'll listen. Their creativity is going to get maximised, and I think most of them are rising to the challenge, yes. And the thing that's interesting is that creativity is not coming from what used to be called creative agencies only. Every single agency, whether you're a PR agency or a digital agency or a media agency or a direct marketing agency, every one of them is now in the game for creating interesting ideas that can scale and spread in that liquid and linked way.
And that's this week's programme, now daily on Twitter on this handle. Next week, how Port Elizabeth advertising agency took a shopping centre by storm with a flash mob activation. You can take a sneak peek on our Facebook page and start the conversation. Also next week, we'll go in depth with this year's Lurie's Advertising Festival international judges. Thank you for watching. Bye.